Welcome to So You Think You Can Write, where we give serious writing critique without taking ourselves too seriously. My name is Lindsay, and with me here today is...
Torsha Baker.
Nan-Marie Swap.
Booher.
All right, the way the show works is Torsha today is going to read our first page submission. The rest of us are going to act as agents and editors, and if we think that the submission, we would reject it, we will.
The lovely sound of buzzers in the morning.
Or if we just really like our buzzers, we'll just hit them for no reason at all. That's my theory on Janette when she's here. Normally she just is buzzer crazy, but she's not today.
She's buzzing from Utah
Yeah.
now. Okay, so this is titled The Changling and the Guard. They will call me a traitor, but nothing I do is against them, or anyone who matters really. All I do is to save my family, my home, the man I'm told will be my husband. They will not live past this night if I fail, so I cannot.
You know, there's a lot of vague, there's not specifics here. They will call me a traitor. I don't know who they is. That's vague, right? But nothing I do is against them. That's vague. We don't have any idea of what she's talking about. All I do is save my family. That's vague. And they will not live past this night if I fail. So we're not, is that the family? I'm not sure. So you know what? There's just too many vague comments. I'd like to have a little more concrete idea of who she's talking about, what she's talking about, what's going on with those comments.
Okay. I ride north to Townsville after dark. The wind is cold and sharp against my cheeks, numbing my nose and biting my lungs. The hood of my riding cloak blew off my head within the first 2 minutes. My fair horse, Roger, is fast, fitting for an animal of his class. His legs pump and propel us quickly through the red forest's path. Even snarling and out of breath. Okay, sorry. He's a beauty. Oh, even snarling and out of breath, he's a beauty. Sorry, guys. But all fair horses are. It's what they are engineered for. The red trees and burgundy moss are a blur in my vision. I pull the reins hard to the right so as not to miss our turn. Roger obeys like he always does. It's no wonder.
Nice horse, but where are we going? You know, that's kind of how I feel like this. I mean, this is a couple of things. Having ridden horses a lot at night, you usually don't go very fast, and the cloak comes back, and then it's a red force. So I'm just it's nice to have some things that are a little intriguing, but this almost seems confusing to me at this point as opposed to intriguing. And I've learned more about the horse, like Randy said, I've learned more about the horse than about why she's going to be a traitor, her husband, etc. So in one area we've got no detail, another area we've got a lot of detail. So I
About
don't know
the
if this-
horse.
Yeah, about the horse. So I don't know if this is this book about the horse, my friend Flicka. I'm not sure. So anyway.
Okay. Roger obeys, like he always does. It's no wonder he was my father's favorite. Strong and capable, he's able to ride the entire hour's journey with only one period of rest. Soon Townsville appears just ahead. Larger than a village, yet smaller than a major town. This place is mostly made of farmers and poor tradesmen. That and the dark folk who do their business here. I know I'll find what I'm looking for. Roger slows to a gentle walk. There are few out at this hour, but those I see are the types my mother always warns me about. The vile ones who don't mind trouble.
Well,
Okay,
Who's gonna get started?
I was gonna say.
I think I remember this being submitted before, and unfortunately, I have the same problem with it that I had the first time, which is I don't want to read a story about the horse if I'm thinking the story's about something else. So if this is a story about the horse, then I guess you're on the right track, but I don't think it's about the horse, so.
There's a fine line between mystery and intrigue and suspense. And this almost seems like, you know, it leaves a lot of questions, but it's not mystery. You know, and it's almost cliche, like, okay, I'm going to this place, this whole description too, larger than a village, yet smaller than a major town. Okay, that you just told me something, you know, instead of showing me, and it doesn't even seem relevant at this point. She got on her horse, she rode to this place. What she's looking for is relevant. Why she's looking for it is relevant. The setting, just little tidbits, is all I need to know, that I'm in a fantasy setting and she's riding a horse through a red forest, so that gives me that sense of it. You know, I passed a farmer who, you know, had a cart full of hay out late. I'm not sure why he was out late, but, you know, things like that would give us a quick snippet of the setting but there's a lot of detail on the setting and not a lot of detail on the actual plot and characters. So I would reverse those two things. So.
I thought that the writing actually was really clean. Like it was readable, and as far as, you know, it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of extra words or anything that were used, but I do feel like there is an emotional disconnect with what's going on and what is being said. Because obviously in the front where she says, I'm a traitor, people are going to die this night. But then as we're writing, she's talking about her beautiful horse, and he was my father's favorite, and they were engineered for this. So it's almost like her thoughts are disconnected from this, the tension that should be extremely, yes, the immediacy of what should be going on and what she should be thinking about as she rides. I did like, you know, as far as like she's talking about the cold in her lungs and biting it because she's flying so fast. So that worked, but everything else, and then there's the town, and it's a little bit larger than a village. So I think it kind of wanders from what should be keep pulling the tension with us. If you're going to start with this type of tension, then you got to continue to pull at us and not let it go, because then we're going to be like, oh, well, maybe it's not so bad. I don't know, but you said it was bad, but then she's talking about her horse and the poor tradesman. So she's not thinking about that. Get to the place, help us to feel what she's feeling inside.
No,
and
go ahead.
Yeah, that's all I had to say. It's like, that's what I feel, is that I don't know what she is. She knows that her family's going to die and they'll call her a traitor, but I don't feel what it is that she is feeling. Is she okay with being called a traitor? Is she not? Is she, I mean, obviously she is. She says, I can't fail, but what is the emotional stake for her for the loss if she fails tonight, which I don't see. All I see is that people will die, and that's a physical, family dying, unless you don't like your family, and be like, oh, they're all going to die. So I think that just making sure that the emotional stakes are pulled through and that emotional tension gets pulled through instead of just physical tension.
Now, I will say too, backing up a little bit, that if this is fantasy, you can get away with a little more description. Think Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. You can get away with a little more of this than you can in other genres. So that has something to do with it also.
Yeah,
anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that. The world building, you
building,
can world build a lot more. Yeah,
and spend more time talking about a saddle, like 23 pages. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. And I agree with a lot of what you guys all said. I do feel that the writing is very clean, which I do like. I think it's close. I think it just needs some tightening up. I actually what I'm thinking is I would almost skip the journey part and just jump right into I arrive at this town, because then we're jumping more into the storyline, and we're going to get to dialogue a little bit faster and that kind of thing. I do want to see more of her internal thought because I really want to root for her, but I don't have a whole lot of sense of her personality here. Maybe it could be something, trying to think of it as a little example, and not that I'm trying to diagnose it and tell you how to write it, but just to give you an example of what I'm saying is, how does she feel about this town? You're telling us what type of town it is, but again, it's not really necessary for us to know those details. But instead, and like I think it was Brock who said, "Showed, don't tell." Show us the farmers, show us the unruly or the types of people her mother warns her about, instead of telling us about it. But is she scared? Is she does she hate this town? Right. Is she disgusted? Does she look at this town as home? This is, I just want to know these things which will really pull out her personality a little bit more. So that's
nice horse though.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want this horse, but
Maybe I'm going to give a really weird example, maybe. I mean, not weird, but like from Tangled. Maybe that's the reason, because she's going to this place, right? In Tangled, where they go to the Snuggly Duckling, right? And Finn Rider takes Rapunzel into the Snuggly Duckling. And it's her response, what she feels, what you can tell from her facial expression when she walks into the Snuggly Duckling, and what Finn Rider thinks of the Snuggly Duckling are two completely different things, right? And obviously in a movie you can't get an internal thought, but you can see from their faces what they think of this. You can imagine what it is. And so here, where you walk in and it's like, well, Mother warned me about this, people, but well, what are you feeling about this journey? I think that's right. These are two distinct voices between Rapunzel and Finn Rider and the Snuggly Duckling, and that's what we're not getting here, is what her emotional reaction is to these things, and that will help us understand her character a lot more.
Yeah, if you had her interact very quickly with a character in Townsvale, who was one of these vile characters, and then all of her reaction to this character.
That's why I think maybe just cut.
You could do all of it
right
in one quick scene.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway. Randy, you got anything else?
No, I think that covers it. So let's move on to voting. I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to give it a right. I don't know enough about her. I do like the opening concept about them. They're going to call me a traitor, but if I don't act, my family will die. Of course, I would leave it shorter, just like I said it, and then move immediately to some sort of interaction in the town. Maybe a small, very short description of the dark, seedy nature of this town, and then an encounter. But I don't want to read about the horse, because that's not the story. And it takes us away. So you are not starting it in the right place, I feel, and so it's a right for me.
Okay. I'm kind of in between right and set, and the reason I say that is because I have a feeling that this horse is going to be important to this story. So what I would do is kind of take we just don't need it right here. So I would not say like completely delete it, just move it further into the story where it's not such an intense moment, and where you could give us some of that information. So I guess that's what I mean by between set and right, because you could just move it. Anyways, and then jump into the story a little bit faster. Give us more internal thought. Let us know what she thinks about the situation. Like I said, your writing is nice and clean, so it's just knowing, how to structure it, and it'll be good.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we do a 1.5?
No.
Then we got buzzed.
Yeah.
Torsha did it first, though.
I know, I withheld, but,
But guest
it's
judges
all-
and
it's
all.
like-
I write my own rules often.
Rule breakers.
Oh my
We're the
goodness.
best kind.
I'm going to say a really, really close right. Like, right, it's good. Like, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know about set. So I do think that we just need just a bit more. You've got the writing, like the writing style, the cleanliness, it's there. Like you've got the chops. So just realize, use your senses, use the internal reaction, make sure you pay attention to the senses, what that character is sensing, and that will make that character come alive. And I think that for me, that's what's missing here is that emotional connection to the character. So that's where I'm like, it's not quite set, because if it kind of continues on that way, it is going to be kind of a good rewrite. But I think that I know you can do it because based on the writing of the first page. So is that a right? A set right?
It's right.
That's a one word. It's a right set.
Yeah, it's not.
I'm making up my own words now.
Right?
Do we have the graphics for
Right?
that somewhere?
Yes.
It's a right?
Yes.
It's a right.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go with the right. I agree with what's been said about the smoothness, etc. And I love horse stories. Black Stallion series, read them all. Grew up on a farm in Kentucky. Of course, I like horses. It's just, and if this is a horse story, that's different, but it doesn't sound like a horse story from the beginning. I think the first line is good, maybe a little more detail about who they are, and like Randy mentioned, but I do that catches you, and that's good. And so again, like was mentioned, the mechanics of it are good, and I think this is actually going to be an intriguing story. You just haven't found it yet, so keep searching for it. Try a different viewpoint, maybe try writing it third person and see how it sounds. See if that does something different. maybe start it a little sooner or a little later and see how that feels. Just some techniques for trying to find, your pacing and try to find the story. Maybe keep moving and then come back and you can edit the whole beginning. Maybe you know where it's going. So you just need to just keep moving at this point and then go back and say, okay, now what do I need to make this first page better? And maybe that's the right thing to do too. So don't get too hung up on some of our critiques, because there's multiple ways of fixing it. But you're onto some good pacing. Your writing style is good and clean. It doesn't get in the way. We just think I just think you've probably started at the wrong place or focus on the wrong details. So I'm going to give it a right.
All right, so did we get it right? Leave a comment, let us know.
Subscribe.
In the past I asked about whether you think Nan Marie should do more, but she's gonna change our voting system. She's not coming back. So you don't have,
We're gonna overhaul this, John.
you don't have to comment on that because she's gone. And what was it? Oh yeah, and subscribe.
Oh, please do.
All right, until next time, get ready.
Get set.
Right. Or is that set right?